He's the expert.
Oh, gee, that's nice. That's fine.
Well,
Yeah, he's the. I just depend on
Nice.
him. Well, just I'll tell you, this is where you speak into, and it's nice because we don't need any
I
microphone
see.
this time.
I see.
So we'll try it and see if it's.
Well, you have to ask me some questions. I don't know where to start in.
Well, we're gonna. You don't have to. This is just a trial
Oh,
to
yes,
see
all
how
right.
it's gonna
I
to
see.
see how it's gonna
Uh-huh.
come back. So I think that's enough. Mr. Butler, where were you born?
Oakland, California.
In Oakland. I don't know. I was thinking that you were born someplace else and had come here.
Born right in Oakland, California.
Born in Oakland.
22nd and Brush. That's near San Pablo Avenue.
Yes,
That's where we was born.
And you've lived in the Bay Area all your life.
Well, I lived yes, all my life, all around here. Except I
Yes.
made little trips back east 2 or 3 times. But however, this is
Oh,
my
this
home.
is your home.
Yeah. Yeah, I've lived in San Francisco since 1922. I moved
Since 1922.
Yeah, I moved to San Francisco.
I see.
Previous to that, I lived in Oakland.
Oh. And well, tell me about something about your early schooling. Because,
Well, I went to grammar school like other kids and went to the Oakland High for...
Oakland High, that's where.
The old Oakland High used to be on 12th Street, but I think they tore it down, I believe.
Oh.
The old Oakland High School.
Yes.
And first I went to Lafayette School, that was a grammar school, and
Yes.
I fooled around and I finally put a couple of years in. I should have graduated, but I didn't. Like I said, I wanted to get out and go to work. Just didn't care about school too much. But of course I regret it. Everybody said you stay in school as long as you can. But the opportunities in those days wasn't like they are now.
No.
You see, if you qualify, you can get a nice position now. And then finally I went to work with H.S. Crocker Company, the wholesale stationers and apprentice.
Yes.
My brother and I both worked there. Well, I started in and I worked my way up, but didn't go very far as I could go. But my collar kept us back. Young men like him would come in, we'd break them in and show them what to do. After about 6 months, they got a good job as salesmen
Yes.
around on the road, being drummers. But my brother and I, we stayed in the same job. So I stayed there for 12 years, but my brother was there for about 20 years. So during the war of the First World War, 1918, World War One,
Yes.
I quit. And then I went to shipyards for about a week. And then I fooled around and I got a job as an automobile mechanic over in Oakland.
Oh.
And I worked there until I was called. But they never called me because they classified me in class 3A.
Yes.
But they never called me. The war was over.
Oh, you
in that period.
escaped it.
But to make a long story short, there's a man named Paul Schaefer. He was postmaster of Oakland, and he knew my mother very well. And so he was on the board down there, the exemption board. So they told me to go down and see him. I went down and said, "Oh, Mr. Schaefer." He said, "Hello there, Albert. How are you?" I said, "Fine." He said, "Well, you got to go to war, don't you?" I said, "I don't know, but I got a little baby girl." That was Alberta. She was a baby.
Yes.
And I said, I'm the father of a motherless child. So he reached over and he got a big stamp out of his drawer. And he said, "Where's your paper?" I got my paper. He says, "You're exempt.
Oh.
We put you in another class. So go home and don't worry about nothing else." That was it. And I never did go to war.
Weren't you lucky though?
But the crowd that I went over with, they all got killed and none of them come back.
Oh,
I would have been with that group.
yes, yes.
Remember Len Richardson?
Yes.
He was along too, but he had a good education. He went to university and he had military training, so he got to be an officer. He was a lieutenant.
Oh, yes.
See, but he's one of the few that come back.
Oh my. Well, there's so many things that I want. You mentioned your name being Dutch.
Dutch, yeah.
Dutch. How did you get that name?
Well, my brother gave it to me. His name, they call him Todd. And they call
Yes.
me Dutch.
Oh, he gave it to you.
Yeah. And my sister Louise, they call her Wheezy. Wheezy. Her name is
Yeah.
Louise.
Yes.
Someone right there in Sacramento. So we all had nicknames.
Did you notice much prejudice then in the Bay Area?
Well, there wasn't too much prejudice. People were more close together. Your color, as far as association were concerned, they never call you bad names or talk mean about you. But the thing is, you could not get a job.
Yes.
Nowhere. Hard, unless you want to be a janitor or elevator operator or
Yeah,
or something like that. She just could not get a job. Now, you know Bert Powell? You remember Bert Powell?
Yes.
Well, he and I
know his wife. His wife is still living. She's a good friend of
Ann.
mine. Ann Powell.
That's
She's
right.
a good friend of mine.
Well, he and I took the examination for the post office. It was easy, very simple. We passed. I passed 98. I could have passed 100 if I wanted to. But he passed, but they never called us. So finally they called him about 3 years later. They called him.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I got a job at Crocs and I just stayed there.
Oh, I see.
Just a question of prejudice. When you pass 98, that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But the questions were simple, you know.
98 is very good. In fact,
Yeah.
that's practically
Yeah, well,
100.
if I just nonchalant, I just asked them, say, come on. The principal cities of the United States, common arithmetic, cities of California, and so on and so forth. But nothing to it.
But they wanted to keep you out.
They kept me out. And kids that went there that couldn't even pass, they went back and took it again. And they passed and got good jobs, you know, that is a mail carrier.
Yeah.
That wasn't any too good. Or
Well, that was a good job then. I mean, it still
At that
is, but I
time.
mean, it was then. That was
Yeah.
really a terrific
So
position.
that's the way that was.
Well, tell me, how did your brother happen to go into the mortuary business, to be a mortician?
Well, he, he worked at Crocker's. I mean, he worked at Crocker's all those years and wasn't getting anywhere, just getting a salary, and there wasn't no improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So he got his money, wanted to be an undertaker. So at that time, Mr. Hudson had just come from somewhere, and they got acquainted, and so they went into partnership. So they started over and over.
Yes.
So yeah, he worked at Crocker's part of the time, and then the rest of the time.
Did they start where Hudson's is now? Where, I mean, was that the home?
Foucher's?
Yeah, Foucher.
No, they was on 8th and Myrtle.
Oh, 8th and Myrtle.
Yeah, big old
I
house, something like
see.
this, great big old, one of the big houses,
Yes.
and that's where the mortuary was.
Oh, I see.
And then after they got kind of established, why he decided he wanted to come over here. So they dissolved partnership, and he came over here and called it Butler's Funeral Home, and Mr. Hudson called his Hudson Funeral Home.
Oh,
See?
I see.
But one thing my brother wanted to do, he wanted to call it Hudson and Butler over here, the same as Oakland. But Mr. Hudson wouldn't go for it. He wanted to be separate names.
That would have been nice
Yeah,
because
but
because the two names were, I imagine,
Yeah.
just one.
of
Like,
course, my brother knew everybody. Mr. Hudson didn't know anybody.
yes.
My brother introduced me to everybody and got them organized.
And
but he
being
was
born here,
born
right?
right here, knew everybody. But he didn't make no big issue about it. He just went to work and let Mr. Hudson went his way, and he come over here and went his way.
I see. Well, how was the business in those days? And how
Well,
was
they
it?
got most of the colored people. It was fair. They could average of maybe a case in 10 days, one case in about 10 days. Some days they'd have more. But they built themselves up pretty good.
About one case in every, about say in 10 days.
Yeah, about every 10 days. Didn't have was too
Oh.
much.
Yes.
But every colored person died, they got the corpse.
Yes, because there wasn't any other, were there?
No, it was white ones, white undertakings, but
Yes,
only colored.
but I mean the colored ones, they
Yeah.
didn't have
But
it.
it's just that my brothers known everybody that they done good. See,
Mhm.
but everybody, and if a colored person died, they got the body.
Oh, sure.
And the same way over here, when he got over here, he done very good,
Oh, yeah, I bet he did.
very good. And
Yes.
all the corpse.
That's Coleman's home
No,
now.
not
isn't it?
Coleman.
Isn't it Coleman?
But Coleman's different. That's Sammy Coleman. He's got different. He started off different.
Oh, I was thinking. Oh, that's right. It's still I know it's under Butler's name because I know I
well,
passed it.
Butler's Funeral Home. That was on Sutter and Webster.
Yes.
Incidentally, they tore the old building down last week.
Oh, they
They
did.
razed it and tore it down.
They lived there, didn't they?
They lived upstairs.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So I used to go down there once in a while and help my brother, but I not for me. I just didn't like it. Some of those bodies was too heavy to lift, and he'd take the torso and I'd take the feet. I put mine down quick and get out of there. But he didn't mind it.
He didn't. Well, that was just his calling. I guess that that's what he wanted.
He liked it. He got used to it. But I'm sorry he went into that business because that formaldehyde, that inhaling that stuff, and they get callous. They should put a mask on, but he got callous and didn't do it. So that settled
In his lungs.
in his lungs or in his stomach, formed cancer.
Oh, is that what happened?
He never sick a day in his life.
Where did he study this?
Through Mr. Hudson, and then he went to school after. He
I
go to night
see.
school. But being there with Mr. Hudson, why he got too quick. See?
Oh, of
So he got his
course.
license and everything and his permit to go ahead and work, which he did.
Yes. But he worked sort of as an apprentice with
That
Mr.
is right. That's right.
Mr. Hudson. Mr. Hudson is in Los Angeles now.
Yeah, he got married again, they tell me.
Yes, he did.
Married some chicken.
Yes, Annette, used to be Annette Bruce. Annette Bruce.
That's right, Henry Starr's
niece.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's married to a girl named Cappy Cloud. Remember her?
I didn't know
This
her.
is before she passed.
Yes.
Then he ran around for a while and met this little Henry Starr's daughter, or niece.
Her niece, yes.
And he married her.
Yeah, I heard about that. Well, you know, the last time we were talking, Mr. Butler, you spoke about Walter G. Maddox.
Walter G. Maddox, yeah.
Tell me something about him. You said he sort of raised you.
But he did. When I was about a kid, that's before I come back to Oakland again. I was sickly, you know. I was the one that thought was going to die, and I outlived them all.
What was the trouble? What was...
Just a puny, undeveloped kid. Skinny. They used to cry, mother, and Aunt used to cry over me because I was so thin, just like a skeleton. And so they took me out to Steege. That's where Walter Maddox was. And they had a couple of cows out there.
Where is Steege?
That's near Richmond.
Oh, near Richmond.
Between Berkeley and Richmond.
I see. I never heard of it.
Little town, just a hamlet.
Yes.
So he bought a couple of lots out there and finally got a couple more acres. So they had a couple of cows, and they took me out there and let me out in the fresh air and let me run wild, and I just built right up.
Isn't that wonderful?
Built right up. Drank plenty of milk and
that country
fresh
living.
Air, and it done me good. And I went to school there for a while, for about 3 years, and I come back to Oakland.
And well, this Mr. Maddox, you were telling about him being a timetable expert.
That's what he was.
Tell me something about that, how he...
Well, he started from the ground floor. They had other men there that had timetables, but he improved on it.
I see.
He always had something new to offer. And there was a lot of jealousy and envy because his work was successful. And now, to make a long story short, he was so good that they sent a lot of experts come from New York and Chicago. There was directors of the Southern Pacific Company.
He worked for the Southern Pacific.
Southern Pacific, yeah.
Yes.
And they had a conference, a meeting. They had a great big meeting room, big long table. They all sat down there. These big guys with white kid gloves on and their canes and their beautiful suits and their carnations, and they wanted to make changes. See, and they wanted to do the dictating, what should be done and what should be changed.
I see.
So at that time, a man named Mr. McGinnis, he was the president of the Southern Pacific Company out here.
Yes.
Alec McGinnis, I think his first name was Alec McGinnis. And so they had 2 or 3 meetings, and Mr. McGinnis, he didn't quite approve what these men were saying. So he told the secretary, he says, go call on Mr. Walter Maddox, have him come in here, I want to show him something. So he's, Paul come in, he had advisor on, these were advisors of the rise.
Yes.
And Mr. McGinnis said, sit down, Mr. Maddox. He said, this is Mr. Maddox, all these gentlemen. He said, this is Mr. Walter Maddox. He's got charge of the timetables here. Now, any suggestion you want to make? Well, they said so-and-so and so-and-so should be done, and they'll take this train off and put another one on. And so they had a paper. He says, so Mr. McGinnis says, Mr. Maddox, what do you think of this? He looked at it. He said, Mr. McGinnis, that'll never work. And some old guy he says, what do you mean it won't work? He said, well, train so-and-so and so-and-so, there's only one track there, and if train number 16 gets there, it won't be there on time. You got to make these trains connect. They wanted the train to leave 2 hours earlier, or 2 hours later, or 3 hours later, or 3 hours earlier.
Yes.
But he showed them where they was wrong, in a nice way.
Isn't that something?
So they all looked around, looked at one another, and they was amazed, being a colored man, to make that suggestion. But he showed them where they was wrong.
Yes.
So they had another paper, and Walter Maddox told them the same thing. He said, that's all out of line, gentlemen. It can't be done. And another guy told us, well, why can't it? So he showed them. And then they knew what he was talking about, so they kind of laid off. So after they had all this for quite a while, they asked some more questions. And so Mr. McGinnis says, well, gentlemen, he said, you've all been here for a week now. We've had the meeting, and we now adjourn. He said, now you gentlemen get that overland lift back tomorrow and go to your respective destinations. Good day, gentlemen. He said, well, Mr. Maddox, fix those timetables up as you see fit.
Just gave him this job. Isn't that... He must have been terrific. How did he get this?
He just come up with it. Just a gift like you. It was a gift. He liked it and got into it and understood it. Now, as I say, like I told you the other night, I think, for a man that never took a ride on the train between here and Ogden. That's the one of the divisions.
Yes.
And the other division up north, and the other division down south. He knew every spur, every track, double track, single track, and every station, and every hamlet.
How did
And
you
where
learn that?
trains should change, you change,
Yes.
and they had to make connection with eastern trains. He had all that mapped out. So there's no delays and no waits.
Isn't that terrific?
Well, that's how good he was.
Oh, yes.
But to see him and talk to me, he's just nonchalant. He didn't just yes and no, and that was it.
But he knew this business.
Oh, he
he
knew it.
really,
He
he
knew
really
it.
knew that.
So he was a commuter, and when he would be on the ferry boat, he used to go back and forth the ferry boats, the commuters.
Yes.
He'd get in the corner, sit down, and all these guys always form around him, want to ask him questions. He'd just read his paper. Yeah, that's right, fine. Read his paper. Sit in the corner, bother.
Just unassuming,
Yeah,
but
he was unassuming.
he
yeah.
knew his work.
But he knew how to answer them in a nice way without hurting their feelings.
Yes.
He was clever that
yes,
way. See, but he now they lived at a place called Steege. It's 3 miles from West Berkeley, where the train used to stop.
Oh, yes.
See, and I used to drive him back and forth in a cart. I was a kid, and I used to drive him back and forth. I'd bring him around in the morning. He'd
In
get
a
that
cart?
train in a little horse and cart.
Oh, I see.
He would drive down, and I would bring him. He'd get down at 7 o'clock. Then I'd go home and do my little chores around there, and then go to school.
Oh, I see.
And then come back at night and meet him at 5:30.
And you pick him up.
Pick him up and take him home.
I see.
I'd done that for 5 years, 4 years.
You did.
I wasn't half as big as him. And weighed about, I was about big as his leg. I weighed about 40 pounds, I guess. I was about 10 years old, 11.
That is really interesting. Too.
But he was good to me. They went me right along.
He must have been quite a person, because I can see he made a wonderful impression.
Oh, yes.
Away from what you've
Oh,
said about him.
he knew he was a good orator. He could talk. He could, one of those forceful talkers. When he wanted to, he could drive it right in. So you had to listen to him. He had a good diction, and he had good phrases, and he knew how to use his words. And so, like I said, that little club they had at Steege, he gave him the lot, and they built a place on it.
Yes.
He made a speech. Those guys was all with their mouths open, didn't know what it was on, never heard a speech like that before. So they made him president of the association.
Of what association?
Well, I think they call it it has something to do with the schools.
Yes.
See, there's different districts there. There's the Richmond district, San Pablo district, and the Steege district.
Oh, I see.
2 different schools, 4 different schools, see?
Yes.
So they made him the president.
Oh, yes.
He'd tell them what to do. They'd ask him questions. He'd tell them how to operate.
He's a brilliant man.
Oh, man, he knew it.
Goodness, he was
He knew it.
brilliant.
Just sit there nonchalant. But these fellas, they couldn't tell him anything, because he would just ask their questions, and that was it.
I asked you about Walter Mack. Well, I wanted to ask a little about your family. Now, Alfred J. White was your grandfather.
That is right.
And where did he come from? Where did
See, now that I don't know. He looked like a Caucasian, nice-looking man. They say. I think
you don't remember him though.
Oh, I never know. He's before my time.
I see. And then Walter Butler was your uncle.
That was my father's brother. Yes.
Your father's brother.
That's right.
Yes, I saw his picture in the Negro Trailblazers, that little magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your father's name?
John Hanson.
John Hanson.
No, it's
John
funny,
Hanson Butler.
John Hanson Butler. Then there was Benjamin Franklin. That was Ben Butler, we call him.
That was your father's brother?
Yep.
Yes.
Then there was Abraham Lincoln Butler.
Oh, all these
They got the
presidents.
presidents. Then there was Benjamin Franklin, John Hanson, Abraham Lincoln, William Wesley, I think. William Wesley. That's the little girl we were talking about the other night. There's across the bay, the Watkins girl.
Yes.
Well,
Eleanor.
He married her mother. That was her first marriage.
Oh, I see. Mrs.
Her name is Butler. Mayme Butler.
Mayme Butler.
Yeah. And that's Eleanor's mother, but she got remarried again. She married a man by the name of
Yeah, what was her name? Carol.
Carol.
Her name is Carol.
Carol.
Yeah.
She married Mr. Carroll. I didn't know him very well. I've seen him a couple of times. So, that's it.
And another thing you mentioned the other night was this early paper, the Pacific Appeal.
Pacific Coast Appeal.
The Pacific Coast Appeal.
Yeah.
What was that little paper like?
It was something like the, you remember the Oakland Sunshine?
No.
Well, they had a paper called the Oakland Sunshine.
The California Voice. Now that's the one that
Well,
I
it was
read.
similar to that.
Oh, I
Just
see.
a 3 sheets, a 3-sheet paper, weekly.
Yes.
It's called the Pacific Coast Appeal.
I
It just
see.
told the local news around town.
Oh.
So-and-so had a
uh-huh.
toothache and had to go to the dentist, have a tooth extracted.
Oh, just little
Yeah,
local gossip
local
and
gossip
so
and-
forth.
They had a few ads and read a little editorial.
And you said the first editor was a man by the name of Sands. Is that it?
No, Watkins, Mr. Watkins.
Mr. Watkins?
Yeah. His daughter was named Alita Sands. Alita Watkins.
Alita Watkins.
And she married Happy Sands.
Oh, I see. Now, and he was the first editor.
He was
of
the
that
editor.
paper. I see.
And owner.
I see.
So,
This Mr. Maddox, getting back to him, we're sort of jumping around, but you were saying that Hoffman Boulevard and Carlson Boulevard in Richmond should have been named after
that
him.
is right. It should have been Maddox Boulevard.
Maddox Boulevard. How did those Hoffman and Carlson? Are these people's names? These.
Yes,
they
Mr.
just-
Carlson. He was the superintendent of the Stauffer Chemical Company in Steege, this place where I live.
Oh yes.
He was the superintendent, and Mr. Hoffman was the foreman of the California Cap Company.
Oh.
And of course, they was the big shots they're supposed to be.
Supposed to be big.
Yeah, but they didn't know
shots.
anything at all. They was just ordinary men.
Yes.
All they knew was that the chemical company and making those caps.
And
those
here
caps.
this man was a genius.
Huh. It should have been Maddox Boulevard.
Isn't that
Hoffman's never
something?
heard of it before hardly until then after Mr. Maddox moved up to Orland, then I guess they got in, they got kind of took charge, and that's why they named it.
Sure.
But it should have been Maddox Boulevard, it's just a cutoff,
Yeah, well,
Like
in
around the
those
main
days,
highway,
that was unheard of.
Yeah.
So. Oh, this has all been so very interesting, Mr.
But
Butler.
I can't talk very good about us coming up playing tonight. I talk too fast.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming in very well. We'll just
Yeah.
check it back. Now we can continue our.
Yeah, the old Barbary Coast years ago, that was the main place that colored people could go for enjoyment, for night pleasure.
Yes.
There was no nice nightclubs
Now, where was the Barbary Coast?
on Pacific Street, San Francisco.
Pacific Street. I
Yeah.
see.
And there was a man by the name of Lester Mapp. He was a manager and owner
Yes.
of a place called it was called I can't think of the damn name now. But he and another man started up, and another man had another place called I can't think of those men. Lester Mapp and another man that was a partner with him opened up another place further down the street.
Oh.
And so there's 2 nightclubs, but a sporting element went there, and a lot of people that names you wouldn't want to divulge, that wasn't much, and that was the only place that Negro people had to go for colored, recreation.
Yeah.
It's not like it is now. Like you go to Venetia's, you go to Caesar's or a nice nightclub. They didn't have them.
They just didn't.
If they
have
did,
it.
you was barred out. You couldn't go.
Oh, I see.
Now, on Market Street. I think
Well, you
it's-
mean there were quite a few places that Negroes weren't allowed.
That's right.
Isn't that?
Just didn't want you. This place on Market Street where you went down the old Louvre, I think it was. You go down the stairs off the sidewalk, had a big long bar there. Several men went in there to get a drink, and they'd give you a drink all right, and after you drink it, they take the glass and smash the glass.
Oh, right here in San
Yeah,
Francisco.
and say, don't come here no more. You couldn't do nothing. You couldn't fight. You couldn't give them any back talk because the law was with them. See, they call a policeman be just curtains.
Yes.
You had no redress. See, that's one of the things that were bad. But now, a person like us, fair, you could go in some nice restaurant, and they would serve you, but it wasn't very affable. It wasn't very kind. They'd rather have you not come in there.
Yes.
So that's we didn't have the pleasure and privileges then as we do now.
No, I know that. No, they.
See? And there wasn't many places to go outside of Golden Gate Park or out at the Cliff House or take a car ride, take a bus ride. Not a bus, they didn't have buses then, I mean a car ride. Or if you had enough money, if you had $2, you could rent a horse and buggy and go for a ride that way for a couple hours.
Uh-huh.
They didn't have automobiles then. That is before the fire. I'm talking about before the fire.
Well, let's see. You were here in 19. You were born. Then you remember the
I remember
earthquake. Where were you when the
1906.
earthquake?
I was over in Oakland. We lived at the old house on Brisk Street where I was born.
Yes.
I remember that very distinctly. My mother grabbed all those kids.
Yes.
Got right in between the doors. He held us all in the door. The old house, that's what we thought it was coming down. It came out a frame house. All was just going just like a rocket chair. Just
Oh
went that
my
way.
goodness.
But it didn't go down. But the chimney come down, the brick chimney.
Yes.
It made a treble racket. So but the old house stood it. So we all got out. And Mother took us all out in the streets, out in the backyard. We stayed there we stayed all that day and all that night.
Oh,
And
I
they
bet
had
you were scared to
little
death.
tremors after that. But the old house didn't come down. It stood fine. It's just a chimney. So they condemned all the house. You couldn't use it. Couldn't make a fire. So we filled a part in the backyard out of bricks.
Yeah.
And used to cook out there. So my mother, all the white neighbors around would come in. My father was on the railroad.
Yes.
Went to Chicago and buy hams, eggs, cheap. And bring them back then. We'd have a big feed back then.
He ran on the road.
Run on the road.
Yes.
All the white people coming in, neighbors, all the neighbors, they're welcome. And they'd all cook it up. These old Irish women, they'd wash the dishes and clean up and cook, and there's privilege. And one fellow used to drive a milk wagon, so he got a job as milking cows. So he used to furnish the milk, bring the milk into us. See?
Yes.
And they used to make bread on a great big board right out in the backyard. Make homemade bread, put it in this brick kiln that they made, and fine, it was all right. Anybody come there was welcome to eat. Policemen, all the old cops on the beat would come in and eat.
Oh.
It was.
Well, what about San Francisco? When was the first time you went over there afterwards?
My sister Gertie, my older sister, she lived over here. She lived on John Street. That was right in the Pacific.
Yes.
And we couldn't find her. Didn't know where she was. We looked high and low. No communications of no kind. No telephones. If you did, you couldn't talk. And you couldn't get
Didn't
across.
that worry you though, not
My
knowing?
mother had a stroke.
Oh,
Couldn't find her. Couldn't hear from her. And so another kid and I by the name of Swanigan, we got in a horse and wagon from Oakland and went down to San Jose from Oakland.
And horse and
wagon. We just bumped out. We get on a wagon, ride about 5 miles, and get off and walk some miles. Another wagon come along, we jump on that. We got to San Jose, then we come back up to San Francisco. Same way. She was a long ways, about 4 days making that trip. I was looking for my sister.
Isn't that something?
So it was just like the ruins were so bad. It was just like like a lot of rocks all piled up big. You didn't know where you were.
How did you get over there without the bridge being built?
Well, you see, San Francisco's a peninsula. See,
The peninsula. You went down the peninsula.
He's over here, off and over here. Went down that way to San Jose. And come back this way over here.
Down the peninsula, of course.
Yeah, see? That's the only way you could get down there. But I couldn't find my sister, but I found, some man told me to go to an information bureau, which we couldn't find.
Yes.
And so finally, I think I had about 20 cents in my pocket.
Yes.
So we didn't have a lot of orchards around there. We stopped to eat fruit,
20 cents. Well, of course, 20 cents would go a little ways,
yes.
It
was only nickel across the bay, see?
Oh, yes.
And there wasn't running that ferry boat. She was throwing up the old up the old creek.
Yes.
So anyway, we finally got down to the ferry, this kid and I. No, the kid, he stayed over here. I was alone. And so I got on the back of an express wagon. I jumped on the back of the tailgate, and when the fellow drove the horses on the back, I made it like I was holding the furniture on there. See?
Yes.
So when I got on the boat, I got off. It landed right at First and Broadway.
Yeah.
Where the old boats used to come in at, run up that creek. So I remember that very distinctly. But my mother, then she got worried about me because I didn't come back for about 4 days. But
I guess she was worried.
So I got back. So in the meantime, somebody over here had seen my sister and said she was out to Presidio and she was safe.
She stayed at Presidio. I have read that they set up tents.
Set up tents.
Like
See,
a little village
like
there.
a little village.
Oh, yeah.
And being that her husband was a corporal and a war veteran,
Yes.
she got a little privilege.
Oh,
See, and they
I
went out there and
see.
they got pretty good accommodations. And now she's over there about 6 weeks. She finally got back over to Oakland. See.
That must have been a
But there wasn't
horrible
running no boats. I was just lucky that time that I got on that boat. It wasn't taking no passengers. But that wagon was going in there, so I just jumped on it like I was holding something on there. See.
Yes, and just made your way.
Yeah, so I got over there and I got on the boat. I got off and walked around the boats, and everybody's talking about the earthquake and all that. So that was it. Now I had another aunt who was living over here. Her name was Aunt Powell's husband, Bert Powell's mother.
That was your aunt?
That was my aunt, Aunt
Oh.
Susie. She had a daughter named Amy.
Yes.
Amy was Mildred Cheney's mother.
I know Mildred Cheney.
That was her mother.
I
Well, they lived on California Street, 933 Sacramento, near Powell.
Oh.
They lived in a brick house. And when the earthquake come, the whole thing went out in the street. And they just got out in time.
Oh, they could have been all killed.
But had Mr. Amy, her daughter, got killed. She said, "Mama, let's get in the back. Let's get out the back." She said, "No, you stay right here." So she grabbed and pulled her back, and she said that the whole front of the house went out in the street. They'd been killed. It wouldn't be lived to tell the tale. Got been buried alive.
Just to think of the people that
It was a
must have
two-story
been-
brick building. Just an old brick building. It was on Powell, Sacramento and Powell, right near the corner. There's a
Sacramento,
big apartment there now.
Sacramento and Paul. Let's see.
Just go down the hill.
Yes, yeah, I can picture that area.
Yeah, the
I can
cars,
picture.
the cable cars.
That's a very expensive area now.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh, you couldn't touch
Oh,
that.
no, you can't touch it. Couldn't touch it.
No.
See, they had they had the cable cars on there. One went down Sacramento and come up Clay.
Yes,
See?
I know that. I
Yeah.
know that area. I
Yeah.
know well, that's the cable still goes up Powell now.
Yeah, they still got the cable cars on Powell Street.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they had a lot of cable cars on Market Street, all different colors. They all went up Market Street. All went down to the ferry. One went out to Valencia, turned up Market Street to Valencia.
Yes.
That was a red car, the Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was a blue car. And they had the Hayes Street, go up Market and turn off of Hayes to go down Hayes.
Yes.
And the McAllister, which was a yellow car, then turn off Market and go down McAllister.
And that was a street car, or was that a
cable car?
cable car? These are all cables.
Yeah, cable cars.
I see.
There's about 6 lines on Market Street. They all met down the ferry.
Oh
See, then
my.
they branch off different streets, like Hayes, McAllister, Valencia, Castro. The cars that turn
Yes.
off that different destination, take away from the.
Did they have just cable cars on Market, or was it other kind too?
Well, they had horse cars too.
Oh, the horse
cars
cars.
ran on the side.
Oh, they were on the
Yeah, ran on the
side.
side. 2 horses
I
pulling
see.
a little dummy car.
Oh my.
Then they had the little cars went up Sutter Street and Gary. Had little
Yeah.
dummies in the front. Little
What
dummy
kind
cars.
of little dummy? Just like this.
Just a little car with 4 wheels that you rode on the outside, then you hook it on another car in the back,
Yes.
right on the inside. And the Sutter Street car went down as far as Battery and Market. Then they
Yes.
change and they put on horses, take the car the rest of the ways out the ferry.
Oh,
And the
I
dummy would pick another car up and bring that back, see?
Oh,
Look
for
at all the
goodness
dummy.
sake. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard about that.
The cable cars?
The cable cars. Yeah, I mean, well, of course I know.
Yeah.
I remember the different ones they used to have, and let's see, they had one on. They still have one on California, but they used to have one on Bush, I think.
No.
That was wasn't it Bush Street?
No, not Bush Street either.
There was one street that they took it off of. What was it? About 12 years ago.
Oh, they had the Hyde Street car.
The Hyde Street.
Yeah, Hyde, yeah.
Yes, Hyde.
Yeah, that was owned by the California Cable Car Company. But they took that off.
Yes, I
Just
remember that.
Part of the California. But they still run cars up on Hyde Street. They still use that cable cars.
But I know there's one on California. California and Paul, I guess, are the only 2 left.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah,
And the California just goes as far as Van Ness and goes back down to Market Street.
yeah, that's right.
The terminus.
Yeah, it's a nice ride though.
It is.
It's a very
It's
very
fascinating.
nice one.
Then the other one, policy cars, that runs over the hill. You know, Paul and Jackson, they run over the hill. Go down North
Oh
Beach.
yes, down to North
Yeah.
Beach. Uh-huh.
down in front of San Francisco too. We take a 5-gallon can, tie a rope on it, and drop it down the slot. And you wind up the cable, and you see that can go.
How's that?
You know, there's a slot. You know, there's a cable underneath there's a slot underneath there.
Underneath the cable?
And, no, there's a big ditch.
Yes.
And there's a cable under there. That's what they call them, cable cars. Just like a big rope.
Yes.
And on the street, there was a slot about that wide. That they put this arm right down there. It was kind of a clamp.
Yes.
And that'd grab the cable and pull the car along. And that cable was always moving.
Oh, I see.
So we just take a rope and drop a rope down, and it get wound up in that cable, and you see it going down the street. So make an awful noise, banging and banging.
Oh, for goodness sake.
That was just double when the kids do that.
Yeah, so I can imagine.
And we jump the cars and all that.
What were some of the Negro businesses in the area at that time, say in San Francisco or I know they probably didn't have many over here. Or did they have any?
I can't remember any of the name. One I know is that a man by the name of Mr. Congo. He was a laundryman.
A laundryman?
Yeah, a laundryman. His name is Congo. C-O-N-G-O, Congo. I think he's a West Indian.
And what kind of, was this laundry?
Just a laundry.
I see.
Just a laundry. And he lived right on, with my aunt, right in back.
Yeah.
Where I tell the brick fell on the street.
Oh, yes.
He had a little laundry back in there, in the back.
I see.
But he lost everything, the poor fella.
During the earthquake?
During the earthquake, yeah, he lost everything and disappeared. I never heard of him since. He and his wife, they had a nice little business. They do sheets and mostly flat work, for
yes.
apartment houses and so on.
And that's the only business you can recall in San Francisco?
Well, at that time, I was too young to remember any.
Yeah, you wouldn't notice?
I would probably notice them. Had a couple of little grocery stores that didn't amount to much. Always had a place to drink. Nationally, it was like the Barbary Coast.
Yes.
That other man is named Sam King. I'm trying to think of the name. They run that other place. Lou Purcell and Sam King. They both run those sporting places.
Oh,
Sam King and Lou Purcell. They started Potters, but they dissolved.
What was the other one's name?
Sam King and Lou Purcell.
Lou Purcell.
Lou Purcell.
Oh.
Your father knew the Purcells. They lived in Oakland Day. Remember Dr. Purnell?
Dr. Purnell, yes.
Well, they lived right next to him.
Oh, because my father, before he married my mother, you see, his family came here in, it was the early 1900s, and he lived in Dr. Purnell's house, or right next. It was in his house, I believe.
I see.
I think they had moved someplace else, and they lived there. That's why I know the Purnells.
Well, this Purcell, he lived right near Dr. Purnell, a few houses away in Berkeley.
Oh.
But I didn't know him. I knew his boy. He had a son named George Purcell. He was kind of a pimp, as they call him.
Yes.
He didn't turn out much. He got shot.
Oh.
See, George got shot. Nice kid. Got with a bad crowd. And there was the Dodson boys. There was Rounders. They was always down there.
Now that name, Dodson, there's a family in Berkeley. I must be related. There was.
You remember Lula Dodson?
Lula Dodson was.
She lived in Alameda.
She's the mother of these two fellows in Berkeley. I'm quite sure there was two brothers, Dodsons.
Well, no, that's a different family.
Maybe it's a different
these
family.
Dodsons are different family. These were different boys. They was just Rounders, and their headquarters was down the Barbary Coast. That's the only place they had to go.
Oh.
Just to have a good time. Young men, they had to do something. So that's where they went.
I see, the Barbary Coast.
Barbary Coast, Civic Street. Now I'll show you an incident. Once I went down there with Earl Lanier and I, we were kids together. Dr. Lanier?
Dr. Lanier, sure.
So one Sunday night, we had about $2 a piece, I guess. So we come over, we want to go to Barbary Coast. There were now kids in there. So we went in there with our little change, and
$2 a lot then.
Oh, I had a lot of money. We could dance. But you dance there, the fellow come on and says, "What do you want?" You say, "A beer." They said, "A beer." I say, "What do you want?" "A gin." They said, "A gin." Then the music would stop, and then service.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we drink it, it'd start up again. So that particular night we was down there, my brother-in-law, Mr. Gilmore, my oldest sister's husband.
Yes.
Bob Gilmore. He's the one that was out the Presidio. He was a lieutenant.
Oh,
in the
yes.
Army. I was just telling you
The
about
one
him.
you just told me about.
He was down there because they didn't live very far from it, and he was down there one night, and he spotted Earl and I. And so he didn't say much. He looked at us, and he disappeared. So about 2 weeks later, on a Sunday, he was over in Oakland, and he called my father and says, "Come here, Father. I'd like to speak to you. I'd like to tell you something." I don't know. My mother told me this because I wasn't there. So they went in the pantry and shut the door, and he says, "Dad," he says, "I seen Al and Earl over to the Barbary Coast. There's no place for them." I said, "Is that so?" You said, "You know, it's kind of a rough place. A lot of bad people go over there. And they shouldn't be there. They're too young." I said. So Rob gave him a great big talk, you know. He says, "All right, Rob," he says, "now, what were you doing down there?" My father says that to him. "Now, what was you doing down there, Rob?" Well, he said, "Now, what were you doing down there? If he wasn't down there, he wouldn't have seen them."
Right.
See? And so Robert didn't say nothing. So he told my mother told me later that what happened.
What was he doing down there?
Yeah. Said, "You seen them down there. Now what were you doing down there? You're a married man."
That was a good comeback.
Yeah, so
You got him.
so he took low and
What about Oakland? Where were the spots to go there?
down West Oakland.
In West Oakland.
A fellow named Henry Hastings had a place down there.
Oh.
You know what we used to call it?
What?
The belly rub.
But
You go down that dash, they kind of cut up, you know. Same something like over the Barbary Coast, almost same as dance, you know.
Oh, yes.
Take a few drinks and beer mostly.
Yes.
10 cents a glass or a nickel a glass, whatever they could get out of you.
Did they have many Negro businesses down there then?
Well, no. The only business they had down there at that time was a grocery store. It was called the Rochdale Mercantile Company. It was a grocery store.
Yes.
About 6 men started it. And my oldest sister, Gertie, that's when I told you about, was out the Presidio.
Yes.
They had her, she was a clerk there. And she built up a nice business for them.
Oh.
So she was there for about 3 months. But it was getting kind of rough down there, so my mother and father made her quit. It was kind of rough down in West Oakland, so they made her leave there. And that was the only store that I knew down there.
But they didn't have other businesses.
They had a few restaurants down there.
Oh, yes.
There wasn't much to speak of. And naturally saloons.
Yeah.
4 or 5 saloons. Link Dennis. Have you heard of Link Dennis?
No.
Dennis family?
Well, when did Slim Jenkins come? Didn't he, or was that later?
Oh, that was later. Slim Jenkins, they had the, what they call a Creole cafe down on 7th and Willow.
7th and Willow. Now, when did he start about? Just about when? Because I remember Slim Jenkins.
Let me see. Slim started down on about, must have been about.
Well, I guess that was during the 40s when he was.
I remember, but he got it later on, towards late. But it was established. A fellow named Sid Deering had it.
Oh, Sid Deering.
Yeah, Sid Deering. He
I
organized it.
see.
He had money. He was a gambler. And she was a nice place. Get nice meals down there.
They used to have a lot of gambling down there.
They did.
Didn't they?
A lot of gambling. You see, that was the.
Was Sid Deering? Was he with gambling, or was he? Did he have the?
Oh, he was a gambler. He had a gambling hall down there.
I see.
And all the Pullman porters, that were the yards down there in West Oakland. That's where they used to pick up the trains.
Yes.
And there was a lot of porters down there, and that's about the only place they had to go.
Oh,
To gamble. And there's another fellow by the name of a man down there by the name of I can't think of it. He had a Todd. There's another place you go upstairs and gamble.
Yes.
I can't think of his last name. Todd Graham.
Oh.
Todd Graham, you'd never know that. He had a gambling place across the street. He and 2 other gambling men.
Yes.
And that was all they done down there, is gamble.
Oh,
They were these railroad porters. They come in, they'd spend their money up there.
Sure.
Then they had a saloon down there called Let's and Fisher Saloon.
Let's what?
Let's and Fisher, L-A-T-T-S. Let's and Fisher.
Let's
George
and Fisher. Yes.
Let's and Fisher. There was two partners.
Yes.
And that was in another place.
Oh, this was a saloon.
A saloon, yeah.
Saloon. I see.
They had a billiard table in there, boys, bidders, mostly
Yeah.
porters, you know,
Oh,
they had a
yeah.
place else to go. And that's another funny story. That's where they made the inductions. You know, they'd line up all these young men around 18, 20, 22 years old. They'd go line them up. The government sent men to line them up, and so they went down to West Oakland, went to all the gambling places. If they seen a boy down his age, and 18 and so on, they'd line them all up, lock the back door, lock the front door, and lock the back door. There'd be 3 fellas stationed in the back and about 6 in the front, because they want to dash out when they see there's going to be, going to draft them. See?
Oh.
Yeah. So I wasn't down there, but one of those colored boys says, "Now listen, Mr. Officer." He said, "I don't want to go to war. The Kaiser didn't do nothing to me, and I didn't do anything to the Kaiser. And if I did, I beg his pardon." He said, "Can I go?" He says, "Yes, you're going to war. So line up over there."
Oh.
That was just comical.
But this is the way they would come in and get them.
Yeah, they'd watch, see where these fellows went, see. They went at night, see, but they know they all flocked there.
Yeah.
That's why they did the conscription.
Oh,
You know, sign them up and take them in the army. See?
gosh.
And, the Kaiser did.
They were fighting it then.
Yeah, that was
just
during
like
war,
there
see.
now.
Of course, the Kaiser was the main man over there.
Yes,
in
yes,
Germany.
sure.
So this Negro said, "The Kaiser didn't do nothing to me, and I didn't do nothing to the Kaiser. And if I did, I
I
beg
don't
his
wanna
pardon."
go.
He said, "Can I go, officer?" He says, "Yes, line up. You're going right in that line there, and you're going to war." That's true. It's a good story, but it's true.
It is. It's an interesting story. You know, when Raincoat Jones died, remember the Tribune
Yes, I know.
had a big write about him. He was quite a character,
Yeah, he was.
wasn't he?
Yeah, Raincoat.
Raincoat Jones.